What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the al-Aqidi show. How is everybody doing out there on this December 27th of 2023 for episode 104 of the show? Hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas. I hope they had a Happy Hanukkah that was pre that. And if anyone can tell that, listen to last episode, my voice is generally back. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I mean, if you're here, maybe you do want to hear it. But my voice is back. And unfortunately, like a pimple that can't be popped, David is back. Hi, David.
So yeah, you're struggling to find something else to compare me to. You gotta get a little better there.
I didn't want to get too graphic too early. I think, normally I'll save that for later when I get riled up, but I mean, I could describe you in a lot of ways I've described you throughout our life, and I just don't think that might get us kicked off the internet. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be good.
Well, I'm a little sick, so I'll be in and out.
I'm happy that you're sick.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's not me. But anyway, if you like what you hear today, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at the al-Aqidi show. And this is going to be the last show of the year, obviously, because we'll be back next year for the new year for 2024. So I'm excited to get this show going. But before we do, last week's show, we had a fun show because anytime David and I get to let our misery show as Jets fans, we enjoy that. We had Matt O'Leary on. He is a content creator for New York Jets, and he does podcasting for them as well. So definitely go search Matt O'Leary on Twitter. He's a great guy, and if you like the Jets, he's definitely someone you should follow. But today, our last show of the year is a show that I'm excited for. I think we're going to be going out with the bang, and it's something that, Dave, I think that's pretty cool that people want to come on our show that are candidates for Congress. And I like, kind of growing this niche because I think we need this. And I think more of these candidates need to get more shine. And I'm pumped about this one because she is, I think, more important than she knows in terms of, trying to win here. But she is Dalia al-Aqidi. She's an executive director of the American Center for Counter-Extremism and a Republican congressional candidate running against a member of the squad, Ilhan Omar from Minnesota. What is going on, Dalia?
Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm glad that you both are well and you both sound good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to get this going.
So I want to jump in with a controversial topic on the right now. It's an interesting one. It bubbled up on Twitter. So the maker of Conservative Dad's Beer, the ultra conservative Dad's Beer, Seth Weathers, has recently introduced a basically hot conservative women calendar. And it has created a firestorm on Twitter. It features, members, it features Riley Gaines, Dana Lash, Josie the Redhead Libertarian, and they're all on there. And it is creating.
Am I in?
Are you in it?
I don't know. Am I in? I'm asking.
I don't know. You got to ask Seth. Go ahead. You should have been.
Yeah. I don't like this.
Go get on in there. But it has created an absolute firestorm of, is this basically people calling it demonic and this and that. Number one, have you seen any pictures from the calendar yet? And number two, if and to be quite honest, so Riley Gaines, she is a swimmer. So she's in a swimsuit. Everyone else is dressed pretty conservatively. Not really showing much, like maybe suggestive, but nothing crazy. Would you be okay with something like this, being a Republican, having good-looking women be on a calendar so people can buy it? Like, what is your opinion on that?
Absolutely. First of all, I don't think I'll make it to that calendar.
Don't doubt yourself.
We got to talk to Seth. We'll talk to Seth.
No, I know. I will. Why not? I mean, beauty is a great thing, and he's not. Or let me say, I haven't seen it, but it's okay to be beautiful. It's okay to be elegant. It's okay. That doesn't. It's not a bad thing. So I don't know why we should be against it. On the contrary, I mean, why not?
And the thing is, you have like, I like to call them our Puritan conservatives. The Puritan conservatives are going out there calling it demonic because it's, it's being marketed towards married men and things like that. And it's like, for me, if they were all in like lingerie and, or nude, like, yeah, okay, that's something that we shouldn't be pushing that, especially as conservatives, moral conservatives, but they're all very clothed. And the worst is a bikini, which, has anyone ever been to the beach? You ever gone to the pool? Like, you see bikinis. That's not the worst thing in the world. So I don't know. So it seems to me like you're not necessarily like the Puritan conservative type. Like, you're a little more of a laissez-faire type of person.
I would say that it's okay for women to pose for photos. We're not talking about nude photos, and as you said, the majority of them were decently clothed, and I cannot say more because I haven't seen it, and I would love to be on it. I don't think I'll make it again. I'm telling you, but why not?
Here, what I'll do real quick. So even though people can't see because it's audio only, I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can get a view of what's going on there. So you can see, boom. So do you see this picture, Dalia?
Okay.
This is the controversial picture that people are calling demonic.
Oh,
I
mean, we have, I think,
cross in the back there. A lot of people are talking about that.
Okay, maybe that's her house, but I think that we have far more important things to worry about and far more important things to work on than just a picture. And we need to understand that our country is, especially in 2024, will be at a crossroad, and that's more important than anything else. And we need to think as conservatives and as Republicans how to be united and how to work to get, at least to save our communities from the woke narrative and from what we've been seeing, especially in the blue cities, like my city and my district, Minneapolis. I think this is way far more important because we need to save our kids. We need to save our cities from the high crime rate, from the bad ideas, the bad progressive ideas that progressive leaders are trying to turn them into laws. This is far more important than a picture or anything else. That's how I look at it. I might be wrong, but I think we have far more important things to worry about, especially in 2024.
I absolutely tend to agree with you. I think that, me and David talked about this earlier. It's okay to have this discussion, right? About, what is right, what is wrong as conservatives. It's fine. But in the end, we do have to come together and realize where the battle truly is. And it is getting these leftist progressives, these Marxist progressives out of office and getting more, strong conservatives and acknowledging that, yes, we might not agree on everything as a conservative. We might have some different values, but having a conservative in there that shares most of my values is much better than the opposite of a Marxist. So I just want to get your opinion on that. I want to
maybe we should worry about our kids instead of our married men.
No, you think so? That would be nice, right? To, worry about the kids. I'd imagine, our kids are rather important, but maybe to some not as important, right? So I want to jump in with you talking about your past experience as a journalist. So how did you start off as a journalist and what brought you into politics from journalism?
It's a long story. I was born in Iraq and I fled my country with my family in 1988. That's before the first Gulf War. Mm-hmm. I immigrated legally to the United States in 1993 with the help of a person that the majority of Americans know, which is J. Christopher Stevens, who I met in Saudi Arabia. If his name sounds familiar to you, I would say that's because he would go on to become the U.S. ambassador to Libya, who was murdered on September 11, 2012.
Yep.
That's a story for a different time that we'll talk about it. I started as a journalist when I was 20. That would be 35 years ago. And I started as a fighter against the oppression of the government of Saddam Hussein. And from that early age until now, I took it as a personal fight. I took it as the road for me to build my future as a journalist. I do have more than 3 decades of experience in journalism. I've done a lot of TV. I've done a lot of writing. When I moved to the U.S., like my first job, when I was glad, well, I was blessed that I spoke the language before I came to the U.S., and that wasn't my first time to be in America, to visit America, but I visited as a tourist.
Yeah.
But in 1993, I came legally again, and we'll talk about this later. So my first job was with Voice of America. I was the youngest one to be, which I think you're familiar with Voice of America,
Yep.
in Arabic. So it was designed for the Arabic listeners.
People, yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And I really enjoyed it. And then from there, I moved from one network to another, and then I started covering wars. I covered the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, and then I focused on radical Islamism and terrorism. So I've covered terrorist attacks, not like in Europe. And so I've been there and I've done that. I've covered international summits. I've interviewed world leaders. So that all put me right in the middle of politics.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But growing up in Iraq, I never thought in my wildest dream that I would be running for office for the U.S. Congress
So
until, go
a
ahead.
really quick question for you about that, and I'll let you get back to that. A lot of people on the right now are very critical of the Iraq war. They say that, it was fabricated, that George W. Bush kind of made it up to get back, for daddy almost being killed, right? As an Iraqi, citizen, as a former Iraqi, I don't know if you still consider yourself Iraqi citizen, dual citizen.
No, I'm an American from Iraqi origin.
Okay, so as someone who has Iraqi origins, how do you feel about the Iraq war? Do you feel like it was a just war? Do you feel like it was something America shouldn't have gotten involved with? What are your opinions on that?
My opinion would be very biased because I've lived under Saddam's regime, and I've lived under the atrocities of the Ba'ath Party. And I was a supporter of the war because I knew back then, and we knew, and even when we fled. Can you imagine you leave your life and you leave your house and you leave the rest of their without even telling them, and you only have 1 or 2 suitcases that you have to put everything you have in 1 or 2 suitcases and flee the country. It's horrible.
Yeah,
it's horrible. You don't understand. Like people in the West or even in America, they don't understand what it feels not to be free to think, free to dream, free to speak. It's a crime. And imagine you live under these regimes and you suffer through this. So for me, it was a liberation of the Iraqi people, nothing else. And again, I think I'm biased because I always wanted to live free, and I wanted the people of Iraq to be free to think and free to dream.
And I love the fact that you had the ability to come here, and now, as an American citizen, you're trying to make an impact, and one of the greatest impacts of, running for office. And, I have said a bunch of times to, to my brother, but I don't know if I've said it openly on the podcast. But my belief on the Iraq War is that it's almost naive to believe that Saddam Hussein didn't have weapons of mass destruction.
He did.
After the times that he would not allow the UN inspectors in, I think almost 13 years since he didn't allow UN inspectors in, he didn't allow American inspectors in. And then we televised that we were going to go to war. Like, it was not a secret that Operation Iraqi Freedom was going to occur, which gave him ample time to move the weapons. So in order for us now we go in and we don't find them. And now that's how everyone
used them. He used them against his own people.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you want to know?
Yeah. So, I do not, and I will push back against a lot of the new conservative speak that there were never any weapons of mass destruction there. That is just kind of, I get it. We don't want war. We don't like George Bush very much, but it's fairly naive to believe that. So I just wanted to get your opinion on that. So your experience as a journalist, how do you feel that will help you as a politician, as a government worker in Congress? What would you take your experiences away from there that would make you an effective politician?
I always wanted to hold politicians accountable for their actions and their decisions. So as a politician, I will be extremely careful in what I do and what I say. And I always criticized politicians for not serving their constituents or not serving their people, and that's why I've been criticizing Ilhan Omar, among other things, of course.
Yes.
But she never. I moved here, and this is a story that I'll tell you in a little bit. And I moved here to talk to her people, and now, like since 2019, I'm one of her constituents. So she never did anything to serve her constituents. She's serving other entities and other governments, and she's never done anything to this to her district, the 5th district. On the contrary, she led the calls to defund the police after George Floyd. And Black Lives Matter demonstrations. I mean, we watched our city getting burned, and she was the one who led all the efforts to defund the police. And what happened?
Yep.
The crime rate is up sky high, and we're suffering from it. And guess what? Not only the conservatives are suffering from it, not only the Republicans are suffering from it, every single person, because the criminals don't differentiate between being a Republican or a Democrat or conservative or white or black or brown, or you name it. All these identity politics that Ilhan Omar and the DFL are using to just sow hatred and division, not only in our district or in our state, but that's what the progressives are trying to do in our country.
Well, I mean, the Justice Department now is certainly going after people for their political beliefs. So, that's something that is going on. Now, I'm curious because I never knew that Minneapolis, Minnesota was actually a haven for Muslims, for Muslim Americans, because it seems like Ilhan Omar has a major push because of that demographic, and that's why she has a lot of votes. Is there a history of, Muslims immigrating over to Minneapolis, or is this kind of a more new phenomenon that there's so many there?
Look, what makes our district beautiful, and our district is Minneapolis and a few areas from other suburbs. But what makes our city beautiful is the diverse population, and we have different, okay, we have the Muslims. The majority of the Muslims are Somalis who came here during the Obama era.
Yep.
They are about 10% of the voters in this district. We have conservatives that are very upset and very unsatisfied with how things are with the policies in our districts by, of course, the progressive leaders like city councils and probably you guys don't know about it, but we face it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
The conservatives would want a fighter, would want a champion that will stand up against these bad ideas, as I said, to push back against these ideas. We have independent voters that are lost and they don't know what to do because they are suffering from the progressive policies, and they are really like, I talk to people in my district, and the independents are just tired of dealing with the daily political back and forth. We all want one thing. We have the Jewish community that are left alone. The majority of the Jewish community here is liberal Jews who are left alone after October 7th. It's not about only Muslims. It's about a diverse population that whoever wants to make a change needs to address their concerns, needs to address their needs, and needs to tell them it's okay to love America. It's okay to want good things for you and your family. It's okay to want change in our schools because we send our kids to these schools. It's okay not to vote for someone, and it's okay to hate identity politics because identity politics is leading us to a black hole, and we need to stop. Using that.
Yeah, 100%. Now you brought up that because of your origins and where you started off in Iraq and everything, that you always wanted to be able to be free to speak your mind, to be able to just do what you want to do for the most part. Now, do you think that because people, especially maybe my age demographic, I'm 27, since in education, we don't learn about a lot of the stuff that we should learn about, but also
nothing about communism.
Because we kind of don't have any of the struggle of understanding what it means to really not be able to speak your mind, or what it means to not really be able to do what you want to do, because you could just lay around your house all damn day in America. You don't necessarily have to do anything. I mean, it won't work, but you could do it. So do you think that's because that's our mindset and we don't necessarily know about certain struggles around the world and not necessarily know about certain countries around the world that has kind of led to a lot of these bad ideas that we're seeing in either cities or states or wherever else?
Look, we are approaching this stage. We are losing our freedoms without us knowing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you guys look at the cancel culture that started by the progressives, what does it mean? It means just to silence you just because they disagree with what you have to say. You don't need to do anything. If you say a word or two, or if you misgender or mispronounce a gender, that's it. You need to be canceled. We are losing our freedom. And you know what? We lost the ability to discuss issues.
Oh yeah.
We need to go back to just discussing issues. Now our culture is based on hate, because if you say something, you are white this, you are black this, you are this, and we throw accusations against each other. This is what oppression is. This is how oppression starts, by canceling you. If you have a show, if you have a podcast, if they disagree with you, they'll make sure that they won't cancel you.
Yep.
This is how oppression starts. And we all, as freedom lovers, and that's what America is all about. We need to fight this. Yep. I don't feel good to cancel someone who I disagree with.
No.
It shouldn't be even in our mind that, you know what, let me silence them. It's much better. That's how oppression starts.
100%. I know James Lindsay famously always talks about this being a very Maoist struggle session type of environment where when you say the wrong thing, you are now forced to apologize and you are forced to learn the right way and you are forced to now go along with it, but it's never good enough and it's never good enough. And that's the one thing that, you know, someone like yourself who's running as a Republican, as a conservative, I hope your team is smart enough to tell you never freaking apologize. You never apologize to any of these
people. Nothing to apologize for. Why should I apologize? What did I do?
That's what I'm talking about. Yes, exactly. That's exactly the mentality. So you brought up October 7th and just, you know, everyone that's listening here probably knows, but October 7th is the day that Hamas attacked Israel, killing 1,200 people. Was it 1,200 or 1,500 now? Is it up to 1,500? I believe it's between those two, 12 and 1,500. I don't have that exact, but it's a ton of people were murdered on that day in cold blood. Women raped in the streets, killed, children killed, people walking through houses, indiscriminately shooting these Hamas people, killing Jews. And it was brutal. And it was a terrorist attack. And there's, you know, obviously a war now going on with Israel going into Gaza and doing what they can to get rid of Hamas. And, you know, I fully support getting rid of Hamas. I fully support Israel getting rid of Hamas. I think that that's a position that people should be clear about. And I don't think there should be, David, you always talk about how you don't need to put any of the little like caveats like, oh, I don't want anyone, no, because it's not necessary. We just need people to know that, you know, that's a proper stance you're allowed to take. Now, as for you, Dalia, you made a trip over to Israel, correct? Yeah. Tell me how that went. That trip after October 7th. When did you go? What was that trip like, and how did that, you know, affect you?
I decided to go. Actually, I went on October 25th, and I decided to go to represent the people of my district because Ilhan Omar made our district and made Minneapolis ground zero for anti-Semitism, Jewish hatred. And it took her a while to even condemn Hamas. And when she did, she couldn't find it in her heart to call Hamas a terrorist group.
Well, she can't because she has the backing of CARES. So
absolutely.
She absolutely can't because the Muslim Brotherhood is her ally.
Absolutely. So I decided to go, number one, to show the Israelis and to show the Jewish people that they're not alone and that we as Americans stand by them and we support them and we support their right to defend themselves. And we are not anti-Semitism in this district. And guess what? Minneapolis, or the 5th district, is very famous in Israel. Not because we have good foods, by the way, we do. Not because we have great music scenes, by the way, we do. Not because we're Minnesota nice and we're nice people, and by the way, we are. But we are ground zero for anti-Semitism, and she is the leader of this. So I went there to represent the good people of my district and the good people of my state and the good people of my country, America, to stand with them. And you know what? I've been to war zones and I've seen terrorist attacks. And when I arrived there, I mean, I've never been prouder to call myself an American like when I arrived there, because people there, just knowing that we came from the U.S. to support them, in the streets, everywhere, they come and they give us hugs and they thank us because they were alone and they feel that they were alone. So I went to the kibbutz on the borders between Gaza and
Israel.
And these little, these little kibbutz that were targeted. And one of what I've seen was brutal. You can tell that these terrorists did not follow the people from street to street, not even from house to house, from room to a room. And what I've seen from al-Qaeda and from ISIS combined would not equal what I've seen in these kibbutz. And you know what? I feel for the Palestinians, for the people, because Hamas has been using them as human shields, and nobody's talking about that.
Yep.
Yes, free Palestine, free Palestine from Hamas, free Palestine from these terrorists that are holding these people and killing the people in Gaza if they stand against anybody from the Hamas group. And I went to the northern border, and I've met with the wife of the Israeli president, and I helped with the efforts, and I really felt their pain, and I felt it twice. I felt it as an American, and Israel is our strongest ally, and we need our ally. I felt it as a human being, but then I felt it as somebody who came from a Muslim culture.
Yeah.
Who grew up in a Muslim country. And I feel that these people are targeting the Muslims, the concept of religion to start with. I'm not running. I don't say, hey, I'm running because I'm an immigrant. I'm running because I come from Iraq. No, I'm running because I'm a Muslim. I'm running because I am American. I'm running because I believe that this country gave me the opportunity to participate in the American dream, gave me the opportunity to be who I am. And I need the help of my constituents, the help of the American people to help me give back to the country that I love the most.
Absolutely. Now, I have a question, because I feel like this might be really important for even David and I, but people to hear, because we've never lived under oppression. We have lived in the land of the free. We've never gone without for anything. We've always had lights roofed over our head, warm, clean water, all these types of things, our whole existence. So we have no idea what it is to struggle. You're somebody that lived under an oppressive regime in Iraq. What is your perspective with the Palestinian people and the way that they're living under Hamas? Because I know a lot of people, and I hear a lot of people talk, that they voted for Hamas in 2006 to be the government of the Palestinian region after I think the 6-Day War. And that occurred. And since 2006, Hamas has shut down any elections. Now, there is the PA, the Palestinian Authority, that still is there, but they, have very little
just
to no
very
power.
Corrupt.
And they're very corrupt. So as a person that lived under an oppressive regime, what should we be thinking of the Palestinian people, the fact that they haven't rose up, that they haven't tried to overthrow Hamas, that they haven't...
They have. But they were killed.
These aren't the stories that we hear. So as a person living under oppression, how should we feel about the innocent Palestinian people that are just trying to live there and, as you said, are being used as human shields, being told when Israel's saying, clear the northern end of Gaza, Hamas is telling him, you're not allowed to leave by gunpoint. And, a lot of innocent people die because of that. So as a person who lived under oppression, give us kind of almost a window into what a Palestinian person must be feeling like right now in the perspective of living under that oppression of Hamas.
Look, after 2006, yes, they voted for Hamas because they were tired of the corruption of Fatah and the PLO, and they wanted a new beginning. But not too long after that, they found out that they are under more oppression, and it's not only corruption, because even corruption grew more because do you know how much money they get? billions on billions and billions and billions. And what does Hamas do with all these billions?
Build
Hamas
tunnels to go to war.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And what they tried to stand against Hamas, they were killed. And when journalists write against them, they get killed or kidnapped or tortured.
Yep.
So I think this is the opportunity for the Palestinian people to be free for once and for all from Hamas, because Hamas is just a tool in the hand of Iran, and Iran would never want anything good for any Arab country, let alone the Palestinians. Otherwise, if we look at why it happened on October 7th, prior to that, with the Abraham Accords, Saudi Arabia is the leader of the Sunni Muslim world. And prior to that, we were so close to get Saudi Arabia on board to normalize ties with Israel and to sign treaties that would benefit, number one, the Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank. That explains why the attack had happened on October 7th.
That makes, yeah. And the thing is, that's things that aren't talked about. Like, we don't hear those perspectives and those sides. And I think it's extremely important to have somebody like you who has at least a perspective, maybe not as a Palestinian, but someone who lived under a very similar style regime that these people are experiencing, where, you know, you can only do what you're told to do. You're allowed to work where you're allowed to work, and, you know, you get what you get and you like it and you deal with it. And
because Palestinians work in Israel, by the way.
They do. There's thousands of people that cross every single day into Israel and go back. So,
Israel provides Gaza with water. Israel provides Gaza with electricity. Israel provides Gaza with medicine. When people get very ill in Gaza, they cross and they go to Israeli hospitals.
All things that Hamas should have been taking care of, or Hamas should have been working with Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon to help their people, but they haven't, because their whole job there is to fight a war against Israel. That is their whole purpose. That is why they exist. So I just think that was a very important perspective coming from you. And from that trip, now you're back in the States. What are some lessons that you can bring back that you maybe want to, you know, tell the people of America about that trip, about the people of Israel, about the war? Go ahead, David.
And especially like with the aftermath of that happening, you have people in the streets literally chanting from the river to the sea. Like, they have no idea what they're chanting, no idea what they're really marching for. And they already feel like they're educated on the subject. That's why they're doing it, because they feel like they're educated already. So like, what do you bring back from your trip? And how do you, I mean, it might not be getting through to those people, because it might just slightly be a lost cause in the short term. But how do you adjust this temperature of, you don't even have to necessarily be pro-Israel. You just not be chanting that because you obviously don't,
because they don't understand what it means to like from the river to the sea.
Yes,
it means the whole Israel. It means you are calling for a genocide.
Yes.
Or you have, these are the same people that when it starts the BLM riots and BLM protests, these are the same people that go to protest every single day, or like queers for Palestine. Do they know that
they do?
If they go to Gaza, they'll be killed and they'll be thrown from buildings.
So here's the question for you that I have too, because it's similar to David though, but these people are being taught the oppressor versus oppressed narrative, the Marxist conflict theory, the dialectic narrative. How do you break that kind of thinking as somebody who's trying to reach them, who's trying to get their votes? What would be your strategy to break? Because right now they're looked at and they're taught that Israel's the oppressor, Palestine is the oppressed, support the oppressed, period. Like, you're not allowed to question that dynamic in their heads. There is no, Israel's the oppressor, United States goes with them, we're an oppressor, Palestine is the oppressed, root for Palestine. because trying to have an intellectual conversation like this with a group of them doesn't work. So for you to go and reach, like if you were to knock on a door with somebody and if they were to engage you in this conversation, how would you attempt to kind of explain to them to break that oppressor versus oppressed narrative? Because it doesn't work. It's not real. That whole, sometimes it is real. Sometimes there is the oppressor and oppressed, but it doesn't work in every single geopolitical thing. So how would you talk to them and try to get their vote, or at least get them to start thinking about changing the way that they believe that?
The majority of people in my district here, yes, they go, we have protests, but at the end of the day, when it comes to elections, there are more important local issues that they care about than any foreign issues. However, that's what we're trying to do. We, as in the people that understand the mentality of the radical Islamism and the mentality of the terrorist groups, and we need to terrorist groups 101, and that's how you start. The approach is to reach out to these people and to explain to them, one person at a time. Is that what it takes? But trust me, by 2024, by November, they will have other issues to go and protest about.
Yeah, definitely, they will. They will. And, and it's kind of trying to explain to people, like you said, the difference between radical Islam and Islam and, a radicalized terrorist Muslim and a Muslim. There is a huge difference. And I think that we conflate that, especially in America. And there's a lot of conservatives, too, that are very much conflating that now, too, which I think that narrative also needs to be broken, that, the whole religion of Islam is evil. Like, no, it's not. Don't be stupid. But I want to jump into your campaign and get kind of into the meat and potatoes of it. So, you obviously, you are a journalist for ArabNews.com. You have.
I write there. I write an opinion column every week there.
Okay.
I write in different places, and I launched a think tank here, which I would address in a little bit. But the way I look at 2024, change has to start somewhere. And our district, the 5th district, the city of Minneapolis, need to be represented by someone who believes in the politics of inclusion and attraction, not division based on identity politics. This country gave me a lot, and I want to give back to this country, and I want to give back to the American people that opened their arms to me back in 1993, which is, by the way before Ilhan Omar came to this country. My goal is to unify these people, is to unify the city or the districts. I look at people as individuals. I don't look at people as groups, and that's what I've been trying to do since I launched my campaign. And guess what? It's working. I have a neighbor who, as liberal as it gets. We talked, and we have neighborhood events, and she's in my building, and not so long ago, she told me, you know what, Dalia? I don't care you're a Republican. I don't care you're a conservative. And I don't care. I'm a liberal. But I'm going to vote for you because I know your heart, because you showed me. And that's what I'm trying to reach out to Ilhan Omar's constituents. Look, we might look or sound alike. We're both immigrants. We're both women. We both came from Muslim culture, but we're very different. Ilhan Omar is fighting for herself.
Yeah.
Ilhan Omar is fighting only to raise her celebrity status. She only talks about hate and about the whites are this and the Jewish are that. Guess what? Her husband is white and a Jew.
Not a surprise.
That's how it always is.
Yeah, that's how it always
That's how
is.
it always is with these, liberal women that bash whiteness and that are, not white. They always have a white spouse, and it's always what they bash. Like, I don't. It's ridiculous. It really is.
The crime rate is so high, and we need to instead of shaming our men and women in blue, we need to embrace them. And yes, we need to give them more money to have more reforms and to have more programs. We need to have smaller government to lower the cost of living.
Yes.
I just saw a report today about the Christmas dinner. The cost of Christmas dinner was up 8% from last Christmas.
That's not what Joe Biden said. Joe Biden said it was cheaper. It was,
For him, probably. I don't know what he eats.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he knows what year it is. Like, I don't think that guy knows anything. So one thing I want to ask you, and this is ambitious, but all cities have a project system. I think all of them have it. One of my goals is, and I have aspirations of eventually running for some sort of office, we need to figure out a way to get rid of the project system. And I know that's a tall ask, right? But it needs to start somewhere, because I firmly believe that the project system, and this is on record with what happened in New York City with Tammany Hall with Martin Van Buren, it was designed to keep the slaves that were coming north in a small area, keep them poor, keep them controlled, because the people, like, contrary to what people believed, leftist in the north were as racist as the leftists in the south. Go look at Abraham Lincoln's debates against Stephen Douglas, okay? The northern Democrats were just as racist against black people. And that whole system has expanded to every single major city in the United States, the project system. And I think that until we start to chip away at the project system, which is a system designed to keep people poor, to keep people hopeless, to make them stay on welfare, to anything, the Great Society also needs to go, because we need to stop encouraging women to be single mothers and getting rid of the nuclear family. But I think it starts with getting rid of that project system. So it's a tall task. And my whole goal would be to make it a jobs program. Yes. I'm not a big government guy. I'm a small government guy, but I would absolutely give money to work with different trades, different professions, and tell these individuals that if they engage in this government jobs program, if they want to live in this project system, they engage in this jobs program where they automatically begin training with a trade of their choice, that they have an employer lined up and they can start working and making money. And hell, I would even go as far as say, you put money aside towards a down payment and the government will have a cap where they will match that down payment, get you a house, get you the hell out of that project. Because exactly. I think that until we can motivate people to work and get out of there, they will always stay there. And conservatives like yourself, who's trying to run in a big city, will always have an uphill battle, because you're running against somebody like Ilhan Omar, who will just turn around and say, she's trying to take away your handouts. And that is extremely difficult to people that are just reliant on the system in general. So I know it's a difficult ask, but I feel like that is something that is super important to any conservative in general, but especially ones going into the city, to not only say, I want to end this system, but here is my plan how to end it.
We need to make it easier for small businesses to compete and succeed. This is very important, because small businesses, absolutely. We need less spending, and we need lower taxes. During COVID and it feels like we're punishing the small businesses.
Yep, we are. 100%.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, you can't have a public-private partnership in fascism with all the small businesses running around. They just get in the way.
We also can't keep printing money and pretend it won't drive the inflation. I mean, this is very important. Ilhan Omar wants to cancel rent payments and make college free for all. Okay, but we can't spend money that we don't have. We can't say, oh, it's okay, sit at home and we'll give you this and we'll give you free this and free that. On the contrary, we need to work on education. We need to help people to get jobs. We need to give them a a purpose in their lives instead of just sitting at home and waiting from the government to give them 100 this and 100 that and meal. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against helping families to stand on their own, but it's not like I'll pay for everything. I'll pay for your school. I'll pay for your absolutely, and give them alternatives, give them training, give them education. Help them, but to direct them to the right direction. That okay, you like refrigerators, let's say. Okay, I'll help you. I'll take you to a place that you can train to fix refrigerators.
Exactly.
And then go get a job. If you get a job, I'll help you stand on your feet. This is very important. Plus, education is extremely, extremely important, and investment.
I will always back you if you say you want to get rid of the Department of Education. Please get rid of the Department of Education.
It's not in my hand. Hey, I'm not running for president.
No, but you can. Congress is the ones that can help get rid of it. Go with Matt Gaetz and get rid of it. God, that thing sucks. It's been so bad for kids.
Yeah, I think when it comes to our youngest generation, the only special interest group that matters are the children and their parents. And I'm for school choice. I'm for the parents to have a say in what their kids are learning. I'm not a parent, but I would imagine if I have kids, I don't want teacher to teach my kids things other than the books, other than the math, other than what they're supposed to learn. I don't want to have my kids come home with woke ideas that aren't not what I want my kids to know, especially at a young age. We need to increase the graduation rates.
Yes.
That critical race theory in classrooms. That look what they're trying to do.
They're trying to separate and divide.
Yeah,
absolutely. We can't continue to breed new generations of kids like that are taught to hate America.
Yeah. Now, Dalia, you named a bunch of issues there. If you were to name basically a top issue, especially locally, I want to name for it locally because I feel like that's one of the things that you've been hammering home, especially because Omar has done nothing for the district. If you were to name a top issue that you would really want to attack first, that you think you'd be like, this needs to get done before a lot of other things, what would you name? Would it be the crime rate in helping the
crime? Look, we lost our downtown during the BLM riots when our city was burned. Now, as a man, you cannot walk in our downtown in the evenings. While before that, we used to walk. Like I live 5 minutes walking distance from downtown. We lost our uptown to crime. The only area that we have in downtown, which it's called the North Loop, which is a small strip. Still, we have bars and restaurants, and you cannot park your car. You're too scared to. We get people getting shot left and right, especially young people. Crime would be number one because we need to bring back dignity to our men and women in blue.
Do you
this
guys
is
have
very
the phenomenon
important.
that's going on where people have their hatchback trunks open just so criminals could see that there's nothing in there for them to steal? Because I saw that's the thing that goes on now where people because if they don't do that, people will break their back windows to see if they want to steal something. So people are leaving their trunks open. Are you seeing that happen in Minneapolis too?
Yes.
Ridiculous.
Wow.
That is insane.
We have an email circulating that telling, hey, it's Christmas season. Please, if you buy especially if you live in a house, if you buy big things like big TV, don't put the boxes outside. Don't turn your lights on when you're not there, so the criminals would see what you have. And don't, as if we're in a war zone. And guess what? We are in a war zone because we're too scared. I mean, you can't walk at night without getting worried about shootings, about gangs.
What is your gun policy in Minneapolis? Are people allowed to carry in Minneapolis, or is it a very difficult spot to own firearms?
Well, guess what? I just filed my permit to conceal and carry.
Very good.
Yes, after I took my class, of course. But the problem is not with legal guns. The problem with the illegal guns that the gangs and criminals have. This is our main issue. Not only here, I think it's everywhere in the United States. One time, as I said, I live in an area, with coffee shops and restaurants, and I was outside of my building making a phone call, and then I saw a young lady screaming and running after a car. So I went running to her, and I was like, what's wrong? How can I help you? Apparently she and her two other girlfriends were sitting outside, the cafes. And she had her purse on the table. Some guy just stopped the car. He went straight to her table. He grabbed her purse and went running. Wow. His friends were waiting for him. So he went running with her purse, with her IDs, with her credit card. And it took the police 45 minutes to come, not because they don't want to come, because they're so stretched.
Yeah.
45 minutes.
So I'll give this a suggestion. It's something that I heard that I think is cool. And we are not sponsored by this company. I would love to eventually be, but I think they're awesome. Have you ever heard of Byrna.com?
No.
So Byrna. If I were you, I would get in contact, and I would encourage yourself and your constituents. So they make an alternative to lethal force firearms. So basically, they're like a glorified airsoft, but where airsoft guns fire at 100 feet per second, these fire at around 300 feet per second. They're legal in all 50 states, and they fire with CO2 canisters, but you can have them with tear gas canisters. And so, maybe you don't want to have a gun because you don't want to kill somebody and you don't want to be mugged. But if you take this thing out and shoot tear gas at somebody, they're not shooting you anymore. They can't see, they can't breathe. And this is good. And this weapon is good for 60 feet away. So you can fire it at a pretty good distance and save yourself. So for your people in Minneapolis, if you want a weapon now that is legal in all 50 states, is a fine to have if you're caught using. Just maybe, I don't know what the fine is, but I know in the great state in New York City, I live in New York. You can have this in New York City, and it's a $30 fine if you get caught with it. Well, you can't have guns.
Instead of it's not about having gun or not. It's about we need to fight the crime, because we don't want everybody to be so scared. We cannot allow, and I'm not talking only about Minneapolis. We cannot allow our cities to be overrun by violent criminals, and that's what I will do. And what I'm planning to do is I will encourage support and funding for law enforcement. And we need to work for common sense solutions.
Definitely.
It seems that we lost it.
Oh, we haven't had it for a long time. Common sense has been out the window for a long time because, too many people that go to Washington to stay in Washington, not to help the people that elected them. They just want to make sure that they could stay in Washington for as long as they can, go to lavish dinners, get all the lobbyist money and things like that. So in terms of lobbyists, how would you feel about lobbyists? Are you somebody that's going to take, lobbyist money, or are you somebody that's going to, put your nose up to the lobbyist and do what's best?
I am working with the grassroots support. I'm working with the Republican Party. As I was a bit late for our interview because we were working on caucuses, and I want to help, and we're doing well. Even with the money that is coming to my campaign, with the donations that are coming from my campaign, from people here in Minnesota and in Minneapolis. It is very important. It's very important that we work, because you know what? If we think, if I'm so naive to think that the country cares about what happens in our district, I would be lying. Yeah. So we need to depend on ourselves, because they don't, If Ilhan Omar goes somewhere, Minneapolis would be forgotten. So this is very important, that we're working on building a grassroots. We're working on building a new Minneapolis Republican Party to reach out to the younger generations that I feel that somehow we failed to reach out to in the past few years, and that's what we're working on, and that's it's very important. That's Absolutely. Very important. We don't want the Republican Party to be the old party. We need to work and include our younger generations to be involved, with volunteering, with being part of a community, because we have, especially in our district, we have a large percentage of conservatives that they don't know what to do, and they're too scared because they're bullied by the progressives. Yep. So we need to build programs, and we need to build a community that we could encourage the young generations, the university kids, to join us, to be part of a community that they could share their ideas without being bullied or being canceled. And that's what we're working on. And I'm very proud to be the chair of my ward, and I'm very proud to be part of the new Minneapolis Republican Party that we're trying to build for the younger generation to have a place to belong to.
And I absolutely love that, because I think for too long, the Republican Party has just been, let's win this next election, and not let's win the next elections 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road. And that's where the Democrats and the leftists, I think, have really kicked the Republicans' ass, because they were willing to sacrifice some short term in order to get to where they are now, where they have all the major institutions completely and totally taken over, where leftist thinking is now the mainstream style of thinking, where if it doesn't have to be logical, but if it's leftist, it's right. And if you say anything against it, then you're automatically a bigot. You're this, you're that. And that becomes a very common vernacular. So I enjoy the way you're thinking, that you're trying to reach the youth, because I mean, there's too many conservatives that think there's no use in talking to that 15, 16-year-old, right? But that 15, 16-year-old can vote in 2-3 years, and they're going to vote for the rest of their lives. So you want to start, and you don't want to, it's a fine line, right? Because we don't want to be like leftists and get them into politics at that point. We don't want to make them activists, which is the leftist goals. But we do want to start to teach them good conservative moral values, and why these moral values are something that you should vote for and look for.
And they can do a lot by volunteering, state fair of this event and that event. We're not like dragging them to attend meetings or no, but they can volunteer in fun events and like state fair, a party, a fundraising, things that they would enjoy or have like events for young generation, or like having a game night, It's just for them to connect with each other, and it's for them to understand that it's okay to be conservative, that you're not alone. And yes, you might be You might get bullied in schools or in universities, but you have a community and you can depend on community. We have things in common, probably not with me, I'm in my 50s, but with other young conservatives that are trying to figure out what to do in life, or how to be themselves without being influenced by TikTok or all these Instagram and exactly, which is very, very dangerous.
Certainly. So I want to touch lastly on your think tank. I can't speak. Your think tank that you co-founded. You're the executive director, American Center for Counter-Extremism. So what is that? Why did you start it? And what are you guys trying to accomplish there?
Can you say think tank 5 times?
Think tank, think tank, think tank, think tank, think tank. All right, I did it. I passed. So explain to us about your think tank.
Nice. The American Center for Counter-Extremism. When we're talking about extremism, we're talking about different types of extremism. We're talking about cultural extremism, we're talking about political extremism, we're talking about religious extremism. ACE, or it's ACCE, so it's ACE, was established by a diverse group of individuals, including journalists, dedicated public servants, and human rights advocates, and members who tragically lost loved ones in the 9/11 attacks. Our mission aligns with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes acknowledgement that civil society plays a vital role in preventing and countering violent extremism linked to terrorism, etc., etc. We are planning, our primary objectives is to engage closely with governments, with local communities and civil societies to safeguard vulnerable constituents from the danger of anti-Semitism, from radicalization, from wokeism, and because we believe that the radicalization starts from an early age and it could affect our new generations. It could affect our community, and it's a security threat, not only to a certain community, but to all of us. We want to create a safer and more inclusive society by fostering collaboration between different communities and by developing initiatives that would unite people and gather people. We do believe that working together makes us stronger, and this is by the way, this is bipartisan, an NGO. It's not just Republicans. It's not conservative. We aim to create a safer and more friendlier communities around, and we are planning to even influence certain laws in Congress and in city councils. So we have a long way ahead of us, but our commitment is not only to protect one community, is to protect communities and to promote peace and tolerance and understanding, because after all, we are a melting pot. The U.S. is a melting pot, and diversity what makes us great, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And, can you guys make it illegal to tell kids that the world is going to end every 10 years because the climate's going to kill them? Because I think that is one of the worst things that we tell kids. And I deal with kids every day in my 9-to-5 job. And you have no idea how many of them are terrified about climate change and what they hear and what they're told. And basically they're told the world's going to end all the time if X, Y, Z doesn't happen. And I would love for a think tank or someone to let also people know that cultural differences are okay. In America, especially, having cultural
Absolutely.
differences is okay. You could still work with somebody that's culturally different, and it's okay to also want to go and hang out with someone who is with you culturally. Like, it doesn't make you a bad person if you gravitate towards somebody that has a similar culture to you in a group. That doesn't make you a racist. That doesn't make you a bad person. Just makes you go into your comfort zone. And I think in this current environment where you use the words, collaboration and inclusion, and I think you mean them with their actual definition. The issue is when they are said today, inclusion doesn't mean inviting everybody. Inclusion means only including what the correct theory is. Collaboration doesn't mean working together with everyone. Collaboration means doing what the group is currently allowed to do today. And, you've lived under oppression, so you understand how words can be molded and used for different definitions. So,
it could be based on interest.
You have such a lofty goal, and I love it. And I think you have a uphill battle. But it seems like you're the type of person that likes those. Obviously, you're running against Ilhan in Minneapolis, and you're doing this think tank, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's a really good thing that's needed.
Thank you. And when we go back a little bit to talking about diversity, and no, you cannot force somebody to, you're forced to or play or force your kid to play with that kid because that kid came from so and so. This is identity politics.
Yep.
That's what they're trying to do. When I talk about
inclusion,
getting inclusion or getting tolerance or getting groups to work together based on interest, based on goals, common goals. It's not like how Kamala Harris was appointed, black, check, women, check, Asian, check, and look what happened with
the Supreme Court Justice. What is it? I forget her name. The one that couldn't name a woman. What is the Supreme Court Justice?
Brown.
It's the exact thing. Karine Jean-Pierre, another example.
Exactly.
She's terrible at her freaking job, but she's only there because she's a black lesbian. Let's be honest. That's the only reason.
Let me tell you, even though I'm not a Democrat, but as a woman, I was happy that Kamala Harris at the beginning, she was on the ticket, and I was like, wow, a woman VP. Next time we'll have a woman president. But guess what? It didn't take her 1 month to disappoint everybody because she turned out to be anything but the check marks that Biden put when he picked her as a VP. So that's what we go back to when we talk about inclusion. I'm not talking based on identity politics, not at all. Based on goals, based on aims, based on interest. Just like what you do, like a book club.
Yep.
You get people that love reading books. It doesn't matter if that person is gay or lesbian or black or brown or white or LGBTQ, ABC. We need to get over this, and we need to treat each other as individuals without putting labels, because labels are killing us.
Yep. Absolutely. Dalia, David, you have one last thing?
Yes, my usual non sequitur.
Yes, now, David's coming in with his non sequitur.
Since New Year's is upon us, I do want to ask, what is your New Year's resolution?
Oh my God. Oh.
Do you have one? And what is it?
Just one?
Either.
Just one.
You can name.
No.
I mean, you want
David's non sequitur. No, it's your non sequitur. You make the rules.
You can name as many as you want.
Okay, number one is in January to lose weight because I gained so much since Thanksgiving until now. Number two is I will work nonstop to help the people I love, to help my neighbors. And number three is I'm beating Ilhan Omar in 2024.
There you go.
I like it. David, what's yours?
That's my...
Mine is, it already. I want to hit 150 by the summer. Yeah. So I'm losing a lot of weight. Got fasting as much as possible, cutting as much as possible, and
You already started?
yeah, I already started, but I'm including it because I'm at 195 right now, so it's going to be it's going to be a tough journey to get to 150 by the summer. But yeah, that's why I'm including that in my resolution.
No, I just need 12 to 15 pounds to lose.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm cutting because like I do boxing and other things, so if I want to actually go into a fight, I have to cut weight to at least get to a good spot.
Yeah. Mine is the same it is every year. Stay alive. My New Year's resolution every year is stay alive. So if I succeed, great. If I don't, I won't know. So
you almost didn't do in
I almost
2023.
did not do well in 2023.
No. Why?
I had gallstones. I had to get my gallbladder removed, but it caused severe pancreatitis, which if I didn't get in when I did, could have made me septic. So it could have been bad, but it wasn't. A disaster avoided. So I almost failed in my 2020.
You almost failed. Yeah.
But 2024, same resolution, stay alive. That is my resolution every year. So, I've been good, pretty good till now. So hopefully it continues. But Dalia, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Could you have me again after November 3rd, after the elections?
Yes. After you win. Yep.
Without a doubt. So once again, she is Dalia al-Aqidi. She is the executive director of the American Center for Counter Extremism, and she is running for Congress as a Republican against Ilhan Omar to try and beat her, take Minneapolis back, make it into a sane place again, and not the hub of riots and, racial segregation and identity politics that it has become. So, Dalia, do you have anything, do you want to promote any social media, any websites?
Absolutely.
How can people donate to you, all this type of stuff?
Yep.
If anybody would want to know more about my policies, more about my stances, they can go to daliaforcongress.org. And I hope that they could donate and they could help me to defeat Ilhan Omar for the love of our country and for the love of our people.
Yes. And for people to understand, Dalia, if you can give $5 to Dalia's campaign, please, because Ilhan Omar has the whole machine behind her. She's going to get millions from the DNC because she's an important mouthpiece with being from the squad for them to continue. So anything you can give, I know Christmas just happened. It's tight. Maybe save a little, throw 5, 10, 15, whatever you can. Don't go get that Starbucks cup. Donate to Dalia instead. So please do. We need more American patriots getting in. So once again, this is the Alex Cuesta Show. If you like what you heard, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. We will be back after the new year. Love having all these congressional candidates on. We need Dalia to win. She's a great patriot. So please go support her. And everybody have a happy, safe, blessed new year. We'll see you then. So long, everybody.